Alright, ladies and gentlemen, the Paranormal Files video is finally up, and the usual plan to stream tonight has been cancelled, so we're going to go with this. Just going to right on in with this one. So, Paranormal Files actually made it also a short video, so we can actually get through this with relative ease. And just in case, for those of you who are not initiated in some of the things that the Paranormal Files does, this is one of their true crime ones. They have delved into true crime research as well as doing some paranormal investigating around key locations to see if there's any kind of ties there, etc., and see if there's any kind of way they can come up with more evidence. With that said, they also do proclaim ahead of time that they aren't a guaranteed source of information, and that obviously they can't guarantee that even if they do get some information on the case, that they can't guarantee that it's 100% true. That, heck, who knows, maybe the spirits themselves are lying about what's going on and what happened, etc. With that being said, usually his true crime stuff can be pretty interesting and pretty creepy. I think we've had only one of them previously, before. I should actually show one of his other ones that really got me interested in keeping watching them, because that was some wild stuff. But also, at the same time, I think it featured somebody we kind of want to lean away from, but not going to get into that. Nonetheless, some more Paranormal Files. The final episode we need to catch up with before we're caught up with everything currently. And that means starting tomorrow we can actually do some more video game stuff. So without further ado, what's the name of this one again? The Delphi Murders, Rituals, Lies, and Human Sacrifices. Disturbing content, a true crime documentary. So with that said, buckle your safety belts. If this is going to be too much for you, I would suggest tuning out, and let us begin.
After the bodies of Abby and Libby were discovered near the Monon High Bridge in Delphi on February 14, Valentine's Day, 2017.
The deaths of Libby German and Abby Williams in Delphi, as you know, remains unsolved. This case has sparked national and international attention.
She smiled all the time.
One of the hundreds of volunteer searchers found the bodies of Libby German and Abby Williams in a wooded area near Deer Creek. It is an area accessible only by foot or on horse. Well off the popular trails the 13-year-olds were hiking.
My little boys, they're like, well, why can't we go play in the front yard? And I'm like, well, because it's probably not really a good time right now to do that, you know. So you guys can play in the backyard and I can monitor it, but, you know, I've got 3 boys, so that's something I'm going to have to be very cognizant of now at this point.
The autopsies confirmed identities, but how these children were killed, the circumstances surrounding their death, police aren't talking about that. They say they don't want to say anything that could jeopardize this double homicide investigation.
And she had a grandpa that dearly loved her. And we all loved her.
Carrie is proud that her daughter managed to record 2 key pieces of evidence with her cell phone. The audio and a picture of the prime suspect.
Directly to the killer, who may be in this room. We believe you are hiding in plain sight, and you want to know what we know, and one day you will. A question to you: what will those closest to you think of when they find out that you brutally murdered 2 little girls, 2 children? Only a coward would do such a thing.
Police now say they're looking closely at a man who's behind a fake social media account.
Detectives with the Carroll County Sheriff's Office and the Indiana State Police have uncovered an online profile named Anthony Schatz.
Whoever created the fictitious profile, Anthony Schatz, solicited nude images of juvenile girls and attempted to meet juvenile girls as well.
For more than 2 years, you never thought we would shift gears to a different investigative strategy, but we have. We likely have interviewed you, or someone close to you.
They don't know what they're doing still. They're kind of just circling around the same thing and nothing. There's not really been a lot of movement in the case. I mean, I've had conversations with police. I've spoken with private investigators, but most of the people that I've spoken with have basically said there's not really a whole lot they can do considering the police won't release information.
The man arrested in the murders of those 2 teenage girls in Delphi, Indiana. That suspect is 50-year-old Richard Allen. Police have charged him with the 2017 murders of 14-year-old Liberty German and 13-year-old Abigail Williams.
Attorneys for the man charged in the case say it wasn't him. Instead, he says the girls were sacrificed as part of a pagan ritual by a white nationalist group. In court filings today, attorneys for Richard Allen accuse investigators of ignoring critical evidence from the scene, linking the killings to a group called Odinism. Allen was arrested last October. His attorneys blame 4 other people for the murders. Prosecutors say Allen confessed in a prison phone call to his wife.
Oh.
Hey, everybody. So before we head tonight to the bridge to investigate what may have happened out there to Libby and Abby, I want to cover some developments that have occurred in this case very recently. Some really interesting, pretty disturbing stuff.
So he was planning to go to it, but some stuff came up. Okay.
Here, just waiting to. We're gonna go get dinner after this, and then head to Delphi. But first, I'm just gonna run you guys through a little bit of the case. So right here, this is Abigail Williams and Libby German. These are the 2 young girls who died that day, and whose investigation we're focusing on this evening. So basically, in February of 2017, on February 13th, the day before Valentine's Day, which is, we're almost going to be there on the anniversary tonight, Libby and Abby went hiking in Delphi, Indiana. So I'm going to really water this case down because there's so much detail here. And if you want to listen to our podcast about it, Murder in America, we covered this story in extreme depth. So that day, these 2 girls went hiking in a nature preserve area in Delphi, Indiana. Nobody thought that this was suspicious at all. These girls, I mean, there were no red flags. It's an innocent town. I mean, Delphi is a very small community. But these 2 went out to an area called the Monon High Bridge. Let me get to this picture. 2:07 p.m. on February 13th, 2017. Libby, or Liberty German, posts this photo on her social media, which shows Abby walking across that high bridge. And that's the last that anyone would ever hear from the girls. And this is the eerie photo taken just moments before these 2 were abducted and murdered. So, obviously, this is a little bit concerning right away. Later that evening, Libby and Abby don't come home. Their parents can't find them. Everyone's freaking out. They know that this picture was posted, so they know this is the last place they were.
Very scary situation right now, and I just want her home.
All right, an update now on our top story. Those 2 missing girls in Carroll County. The Sheriff's Office and members of the Delphi area community continue searching for those missing girls in the Delphi area, saying now they won't stop until those 13-year-olds are found. It's been nearly 24 hours, of course, since they were reported missing. 13-year-olds Liberty German, Abigail Williams, last seen around 1 o'clock Monday afternoon near the Monon High Bridge, that abandoned rail bridge just outside of Delphi.
We are told that volunteers will be sent out in groups where they will comb the area in efforts to find these 2 girls.
Police continue to search for 2 teenage girls who went missing early yesterday.
Ben and Julia, good morning to you. This is the entrance to the trail where those 2 13-year-olds were last seen. Officers, law enforcement, they have stopped the search for the night. But in the meantime, other folks have come out. We've seen family. We just saw a group who didn't even know the girls come out here because they heard the story and wanted to come out. They're here with flashlights searching for them, doing anything they can. There's been so much pressure to try and find these 2 young girls since they went missing yesterday afternoon. In the meantime, we do want to give you another look at these photos. This is so important so that if you do see them, you can let police know. Both of them, again, 13 years old. They're both about 5 feet 4 inches tall. Liberty, or Libby German, she has shoulder-length blonde hair and blue eyes. She was wearing a tie-dyed shirt, some gray sweatpants, and also black shoes. Then there's Abby, or Abigail Williams. She's also 5'4", with medium-length blonde hair and hazel eyes. She was wearing a gray zip-up sweatshirt and some jeans. Meantime, this search started again yesterday afternoon. The two actually had the day off school yesterday, so they decided they wanted to have some fun, spend some time on the trail, and take some photographs. They were dropped off by a family member. They were supposed to be picked up around 3 o'clock, but when that family member arrived, the girls were not here. They weren't answering their text messages or phone calls. Libby's grandfather tells us the search started right away.
We started going through all the social media things, you know, picking up, looking at Facebook. Has she talked to anybody, or had the girls been talking with anybody, Snapchatting or whatever the kids do today, back and forth. And really didn't find anything. The last message I think we found going out was like at about 2:30, which was a Snapchat of a picture of them out there on this bridge on the trail system. And that was the last communication we've had.
And on February 14th, Valentine's Day 2017, their bodies were discovered in a close area, close proximity to that bridge, just across the creek, the river right there on private property. Their bodies were found in a really, really strange posed situation. We're going to talk about that in a second. There's a lot of details that are coming out that points to this possibly being a ritualistic murder connected to a cult. What we're saying here is all alleged at this moment. I also want to state that legally, we're not accusing anybody of doing anything. These are just the facts that we've been presented with. So, some evidence that surfaces. This is a screenshot from a video that one of the girls took on their phones, and it shows a man approaching them from the bridge, ordering them down the hill. I'm going to play that clip now.
The man in this video has never been found and never been identified, but police say he remains a person of interest in the unsolved 2017 murder of 2 Indiana teens. Along with that haunting image, his voice was found captured on a cell phone belonging to one of the victims, 14-year-old Libby German. The bodies of German and her friend, 13-year-old Abby Williams, were found in the woods near Delphi, not far from the abandoned rail bridge seen in that cell phone video, and where the 2 girls went for a hike. Earlier this year, their family spoke out on Valentine's Day, the 4th anniversary of their deaths, still agonizing over who the killer could be.
I feel very strongly that there's a very good chance that it was somebody from the area that knew this area at one time.
The fact remains, there's a killer walking loose. He knows where Delphi is. We know that.
Police released this sketch of the suspect in 2019, asking the public to take a close look.
The result of the new information and intelligence over time leads us to believe the sketch, which you will see shortly, is the person responsible for the murders of these 2 little girls.
Then address the murderer directly.
Only a coward would do such a thing. We are confident that you have told someone what you have done.
To this day, police continue to reveal new clues like this fake social media account they say could be connected.
So that's the suspect in the murder. This has been for years the guy who they were 100% convinced was the killer of Libby and Abby, obviously because he was ordering them to go down the bridge, down the hill, and it's a suspicious looking man right before they were found dead. Obviously this guy's connected. So this is a sketch of the man that for years this was the only thing that people had to go off of. There were tons of theories coming in from across America. People were submitting tips. There were people of all different races being submitted for these tips, people from different countries, like thousands of tips were coming in, but nobody could figure out who this guy was, even though, eerily enough, they had his voice on the camera, they had his outfit, his face, his body stature, everything had been captured, but they didn't know who this man
Just
was.
not a high res.
He's definitely connected. Now, something that's interesting is that there was another sketch that was produced that looks vastly different than that sketch. I'm going to put that on screen now. Nobody's ever really been able to explain the discrepancy between these 2 sketches, but I think it's just an interesting side note in the story. So for years, nobody had any leads on who killed Libby and Abby, and this was nationwide news. It still is. And while the case to this day hasn't officially been solved, the trial has yet to happen. In 2020, this man was arrested who lived in the immediate Delphi area. His name is Collin Conner. Now, on our podcast, Murder in America, we devoted an entire 3.5-hour long episode to the Collin Conner transcripts because this guy was a predator, an internet predator, who solicited indecent photographs from children. He used a fake social media profile called Anthony Shots. He would friend minors and then befriend them and start talking to them, get them to send him nude photographs.
Right.
And obviously this guy was a sick, sadistic pervert. But what ended up happening is his home was raided in 2020, but investigators found that before the murder, this guy, Kagan Klein, had been messaging the girls on one of their social media apps. So there was a direct correlation between this guy, who was a known CP or child producer, and these two murder victims. So people thought this guy was involved. In 2022, authorities actually took Kagan Klein out of jail
but it's very
and brought him
probable,
around crime
yes.
scene areas and tried to find more evidence. And people thought that that was a major break in the case, that he was cracking and showing people some evidence, but nothing really came out of this. He was eventually sentenced to 40 years in prison, though. But I'm sure this guy knows more than he's letting on to.
This evening, a Miami County judge sentenced Kagan Klein to 43 years in prison in a child solicitation case. Fox 59 was live on the air moments after he learned his fate.
Here comes Kagan Klein down the steps of the Miami County Courthouse right now. He's on his way, and of course he made his opinion well known just now.
Yeah, you saw that there. Investigators say Klein communicated with Libby German through a fake social media profile right before she and Abby Williams were killed in Delphi.
Klein is still in the Miami County Jail on those unrelated charges, and now he's talking on camera for the first time, acknowledging the Delphi investigation in a jailhouse interview with CNN.
Why do you think investigators are putting so much focus on you right now?
I have not a clue. Because I think it's because they said I was the last person to talk to her, is what they've told me.
Klein says investigators haven't threatened any charges against him for Abby and Libby's murders. And while he's admitted to creating the Anthony Shots profile to get inappropriate pictures, he says that's where the crime ends.
Were you ever trying to meet these girls in real life that you were talking to?
No, never.
Did you have anything to do with the murders of Abby or Libby?
Not at all. And I've gave up my DNA, a hair follicle test. I've done everything they wanted me to.
But we need to get to
Man's
one of the
got
most
issues,
recent
but
developments in the case.
he is technically innocent of the crime so far.
In 2022, 5 years after the murders, this man is finally arrested. He's a local from Delphi. His name's Richard Allen.
He fits
Now,
the look,
there's a
doesn't
lot
he?
of suspicious evidence, 100% linking this guy to the crime. For example, one of the main things prosecutors are using is a bullet that was found at the crime scene that has been linked to a gun that he owns. They said that this unspent bullet had passed through the pistol that Richard owns, which obviously is a direct link to the crime. He also confessed to his wife allegedly on prison phone calls that he committed the murders and he killed Libby and Abby.
Today is not a day to celebrate, but the arrest of Richard M. Allen of Delphi on 2 counts of murder is sure a major step in leading to the conclusion of this long-term and complex investigation. We are going to continue a very methodical and committed approach to ensure that if any other person had any involvement in these murders in any way, that person or persons will be held accountable.
So there's a lot to think about here. Did this guy do it? When you take a look, at these two, I mean,
it's pretty darn close.
There is a correlation, 100%. He does really, really look like this guy. But I think the most interesting thing that we're trying to figure out, and like I said, there's so much nuance to this case. I would highly recommend you go listen to our Murder in America podcast. This is just the basics, but what we're focusing on here
some time to listen
is
to
some of
that.
the recent developments. So
Mildly
Richard
curious.
Allen, last year, with his attorneys while he was being held, he started to tell people that this, obviously he's claiming that he's innocent, that he didn't carry out these murders, but he claims he knows who did these murders, and he claims that they were a part of a sacrifice to a Norse pagan religion. And this is where this case gets really disturbing, because there's a conspiracy behind it, I believe. There's something weird. So the two men that Richard eventually goes on the record and names as the people who murdered Libby and Abby are Brad and Patrick. So these two are locals from Delphi. Remember, this is all alleged right now, so I'm not pointing any fingers at anybody. But Richard's attorneys found that at the very beginning of the police investigation into the murders, Brad and Patrick had been interviewed by FBI agents and police officers. They had gone on and done taped interviews. The police had records that these interviews happened, but when Richard and his legal team wanted to request those interviews and the copies of those documents, the police in Delphi said, "We don't have them." And as it turns out, this evidence was destroyed. The initial interviews with those suspects was completely wiped by the police. Now, they claim that it was just a simple error, that it was an old DVR and they accidentally recorded over the testimony from those two suspects. But what Richard is claiming is that now, if you interview those guys, they're going to be able to get their stories really straight for the record now that all this evidence has come out and they know exactly what not to say. Brad Holder's son was dating one of the victims, which is an interesting twist. So there's a direct link there. And Brad stated that he'd never at first met the girl. And then later on, he started to say that, oh, I met her a couple times. So his story's changing. There's a lot of weirdness. But what I want to point out, and the stuff that's coming out right now, is the positioning of Abby and Libby's bodies. So for years, the police said that they were found in a wooded area right by the creek and that there were sticks put across their bodies in an attempt to hide the bodies. So when you would imagine a killer hiding a body with sticks, you'd imagine tons of sticks and they're covered from head to toe and they're actually trying to make an effort to hide these corpses, but no. So there's a recent leak of crime scene photos. The photos haven't been released and I wouldn't want to look at them anyways, but these are the sketches,
the representations of the
what
photos
was displayed in the
they
photos.
saw, yeah.
Multiple people have seen these. These have been corroborated as being true. And as you can see, these red marks and these marks here, they denote the sticks that were found on the bodies. Now, obviously, these sticks were not meant to cover either of these girls up. I mean, there's so much weirdness to this. So something disturbing about this is when they found the bodies of these two girls in these positions, Libby had no clothes on. She was completely, according to these documents, completely nude. But Abby was found fully clothed. She had actually been undressed by these killers or killer and then redressed. Abby was wearing Libby's pants and Libby's sweatshirt. The shirt under the sweatshirt that she was wearing was completely clean of all dirt and blood, even though she had been stabbed to death. She was wearing 2 bras and 2 shoes. So the killers, in this case, actually removed some items of clothing from the scene. Some people would say that's a trophy, like some killers would take. A shoe was missing, a sock was missing. But that's not the weird part here. I mean, that's weird already that one girl was found undressed and the other had her clothing on. What's strange that people are pointing out is the shapes of these sticks, the aligning of the bodies, and how these could possibly relate to some sort of human sacrifice murder ritual. So Brad and Patrick, the two suspects that the guy who was arrested said killed Libby and Abby in that murder ritual. Brad and Patrick are known by the FBI. An official document states that they're affiliated with a magical religion of sorts, which would lead to this theory. And search warrants that were actually written out and issued early on in the investigation for those two's phones stated that they had an affiliation with a religious sect, that their phones might contain evidence, and they even stated on the search warrants that these murders, that there may be religious evidence of some sort of religious murder on these guys' phones, but it's unknown whether they actually executed that search warrant or not. But what people think these two guys are involved with is a thing called Odinism. So Odinism is an ancient, heathen, pagan, pre-Christian religion. It's a Nordic religion, and they worship a bunch of different gods, like Odin, like Thor. And this is a religion that, in the last couple of decades, and I mean stretching back all the way to World War II, has been heavily tied to white supremacy, to domestic terrorism, and to violence. For example, the worst mass shooting in Norwegian history was carried out by a man named Anders Breivik, and he was a known professed Odinist. He actually nicknamed his gun that he used in the massacre after Odin's magical spear, and his handgun after Thor's hammer. Now, with Odinism, there's a lot of people that practice this in America. A lot of neo-Nazis, people like that, people who have tried to carry out terror plots. But what this involves is a lot of worship of these gods, these warrior gods. And even stretching back to Norse times, back in countries like Denmark. In Denmark, there's a place called Onskjold, which actually took its name from the name Odin. And at Ohnschuld, they would make these Odinistic sacrifices, human sacrifices, animal sacrifices. And these sacrifices involved hanging people. Most of the time, men were hung upside down, women were hung upside down by their toes, and they were drained of blood, slaughtered. It was this whole thing. But modern Odinism, the worship of these Norse gods, involves going out into the woods. These members go out and practice these rituals. They drink mead from horns. They read ancient poetry. And oftentimes they commit sacrifices. Now, most of the time these sacrifices come in the form of animals. They'll slaughter, household animals or cattle, stuff like that. But there have been also cases where humans have been murdered. And that's why they think that the murder of Abby and Libby is tied to this Odinism, and it was a human sacrifice. It's specifically because of these sticks. So here's a mock-up of what the sticks would have looked like on Abby's body, according to the official documents. If you told me that these sticks were being used to cover up a dead body, I would laugh at you, because there's no coverage. There's nothing that's being done here. I mean, these sticks, these sharp lines and angles are obviously placed with intent and purpose to send some sort of a message. And I implore you to take a look at the sticks that were found on Libby. You see the exact same thing. Straight lines, sharp angles, obviously in some sort of a symbol that people are trying to figure out what it is right now. But it's pointing to, to a lot of people that this may have been a ritual. Actually, I'm going to play you a clip right now. A woman who was consulted for the United States government many, many times over the years, and her specialty is ritualistic murders, like satanic murders, stuff like that. She's gone on the record and said that the murders of Abby and Libby have every benchmark of a ritualistic murder. For example, the murder took place out in nature, where a lot of these ritualistic murders happen. They took place near a body of water, the river, where a lot of ritualistic murders happen. They, instead of using a gun, like the perpetrator had in the video, they used some sort of a sharp object to actually personally stab the girls to death. That's evidence of a ritualistic murder. Then she points out all of the sticks, the way the bodies were positioned.
Ritual murder expert and author of Investigating Religious Terrorism and Ritualistic Crimes, Dawn Perlmutter, is with us.
Well, I just have to emphasize that I did not observe any of the photos. I only have the information that I read and the descriptions. But I can tell you from what I've read, this is a classic ritual murder. I've worked on dozens of these types of homicide cases. Ritual homicide involves acts that go beyond the actions necessary to conduct the crime or elude the police. This is not a counter-forensic measure. You don't do all of that just to hide the body. It has all of the elements. It has symbols at the scene. What you're not taking into account when they're looking at the shapes of these branches. And by the way, ritualistic crimes are typically outdoor crime scenes because they're nature-based ideologies. But when you're looking at the symbols, you need to account for the shape of the body underneath it when you're interpreting it. You're not just looking at the sticks. It can be the entire thing, and it has meaning to whoever did it. I really do not think it's random. The other thing, obviously the cause of death is significant. In ritualistic crimes, you do not get gunshots. They're always typically knife wounds, and there's always things that are done with the blood, and in this case, obviously a secondary scene, but blood, whether it's blood spatter or what was on the tree, it seems that this was not random at all. Body positioning is very significant, and as I said, it will have some meaning to the person who did it. In terms of Odinism, which I'm very familiar with, it would be consistent with racist Odinism, which is very popular, has been popular among neo-Nazi skinheads and prison gangs since the late 90s. In fact, there's many groups right now that are taking it to the next level. We have a blood tribe leader who has runes tattooed on his face that translate to son of Wotan, which is one of the, also known as Odinism. So you'd have to know what type of ritual. Again, if it's not somebody connected to one of these organized ideologies, it could be something they're just inventing in their mind. But it could also be, you don't know if it's an initiation, if it's sacrificial. There's a lot of different types of rituals that are done. No, that it's quite possible and plausible. I mean, there are groups like this that not only ritually murder, they ritually rape women. They're active. They could be doing it in other places. I guess what I'm trying to say is this does happen, as bizarre as it sounds. There are ritual murders, and a lot of these racist Odinists are growing. They are recruiting, and they're part of this like warrior tribal. They identify with that ideology. So
pathetic enough
it's
to
very
victimize
plausible.
children.
And I do have to point out what a lot of people have talked about is the connection between tarot cards and the positioning of the girls' bodies. Now, obviously you can see the relation between the magician right here. So Libby's body right here, this is how Libby was found. She looks a lot like the magician tarot card. I mean, the arms outstretched, the same positions here. But what's really freaky is, but what's really freaky is how Abby looks like the hanged man. I mean, just take a look at the similarity between the arms right here, the hanging sort of thing, the crossed legs. And then if you look at this tiny little detail down here, these are sticks that were found around Abby's head. Now, according to people that have actually seen these crime scene photos, these sticks that were placed around Abby's head look a lot like either horns or some sort of a crown, which is, once again, sounds like some sort of a Odinistic, ritualistic sacrifice. I mean, there's so many strange things about how this all went down. And to remind you, the FBI immediately after the murder said that this looked staged, like the girls had been murdered somewhere else and brought to that area and set up specifically to look like this.
A sealed search warrant obtained and revealed through a podcast shares grim details about the crime scene and the police interest in the man who owned the property where those two teen girls were found.
Back in March 2017, 13 News was there when FBI searched Logan's property. We also spoke with him multiple times, and he even walked us back to the crime scene.
I can't really wrap my emotions around it yet. It's just so mind-boggling. I haven't really caught up. It hasn't caught up with me yet.
But recently, the podcast Murder Sheet obtained the sealed warrant. In the request, the FBI agent wrote, "I believe there is probable cause to believe that Ronald Logan has committed the crime of murder, and the evidence of that could be found on Ronald Logan's property." The agent then went on to detail why, saying Logan asked a relative to create a fake alibi for him for the afternoon that the girls were reported missing. There was also cell tower data that tracked his phone to the crime scene. Plus, investigators interviewed two women who had been in a relationship with Logan, and both reported that he was physically abusive. The leaked document also gave new information about the crime scene, saying one of the victims was missing an article of clothing. There were no visible signs of a struggle or fight. Investigators also recovered fibers and unidentified hairs, and it also appeared the girls' bodies were moved and staged.
I mean, if you're trying to cover a body, why would you put these sticks on it? Why not just kick leaves over the bodies like many people have suggested? There's also the fact that there was barely any blood at the crime scene. Blood was found on Libby's hands, and there was a little bit on her face. Now, bloody hands is another ritualistic sacrifice thing. We can talk about that later, but if you're following me here, it doesn't seem like this one man, in my opinion, just snapped and murdered these girls one day. It seems like there's some sort of a deeper plan, whether he carried it out completely by himself, there were other people involved. But when you come across crime scenes like this, and we study these all the time for the Paranormal Files and for the podcast, they don't look like this. They don't have evidence like this. And that brings us to the rune. So take a look at that. Obviously, runes are magical symbols. And runes were used in Odinism and other religions during magical ceremonies. They're used to transmit messages. But what's really scary about this is Libby's blood. this rune, or what people are pointing out looks like a Norse rune, was painted on a tree where the girls' bodies were found in their blood. Now, this is the actual photo of the blood rune. These are people kind of pointing out what it looks like. But to dive into it, the rune that looks like F symbolizes Odin. And, I mean, that's just on top of all of this. The Odinism and the sacrifice and the murder, the blood rune, the positioning of the bodies. There's also the fact that there was yellow rope found at the crime scene that's unexplained. And their bodies, the girls' bodies, looked as if they'd been drained of blood, according to some people who actually looked at the crime scene photos. Now, we don't know all the details behind the case, so I might be totally wrong about this, but I just watched an interview with a guy who said it looked like they had been completely drained. They were completely pale. There was no blood anywhere on them or near them. So where did their blood go, and why was there only blood on her hands? And when you talk about draining blood, you talk about Odin and the rituals that they did where they hung people in Denmark, then you talk about the positioning with the hanging man, the fact that there's yellow rope present there. It all just starts to link in a very, very creepy way that I didn't even know about any of this until today when we were coming out here, and my mind is really, really blown. Now, I'm not the only one who's reading into this right now. A lot of people are saying that this is a very valid possibility. Like I said, the woman who was contracted by the government to analyze witchcraft and ritual crimes said this is 100% a ritual. A lot of people who have seen the crime scene photos are saying the same thing. And I'm not trying to point anybody's thinking or thought process in one direction. I'm just pointing out that this is really, really strange. And it shocks me. I mean, there's so many connections. Is there a cover-up going on in Delphi? Are these people connected to a government and they don't want this coming out? I mean, there's been a fight to seal a lot of this evidence. The police have been caught telling lies about this case. It's pretty crazy. There's also the connection between Delphi and the god Apollo. Delphi was a place where the followers of Apollo, to water it down, would go and commit sacrifices for him. So, I mean, there's just so many strange connections. And if you go look at any YouTube video covering this, there are tons of witches and people who practice witchcraft and other pagan religions that all say, this definitely looks like some sort of a ritual, and like these people knew what they were doing. I also want to point out something really strange. Those sticks that were found on top of their bodies were not collected as evidence. So if there are fingerprints on there, any human DNA, it's completely gone by now. And one of the people that looked at the crime scene photos also said that one of the sticks looked like it had been shaved with an electric saw. It was a perfect shear on the stick. So
why didn't you?
Someone pre-planned the lengths of those sticks, the positioning of those sticks, the bodies were arranged in that way. There's just so much here it just feels so wrong. I don't know what to think. I mean, there's evidence pointing to Richard Allen obviously being involved. He confessed the bullet, but there's so many other avenues. I mean, these other guys who have basically gotten off scot-free. I don't know. It's just really strange. And you add in this guy who was producing child at the time, and he's linked to the case. It's like a network of evil people that conspired to kill these two innocent girls. And it feels so wrong. It feels filthy. It feels, it just feels horrible. But yeah. And I think
the fact that something out there seems to keep being buried because of those
possibly linked to Odinism, the fact that they were deleted along with every other interview from the initial investigation is strange. And I mean, this stretches to some people in the government. Not everybody in the government is agreeing that there's nothing weird here. Robert Ives, the former Carroll County prosecutor, he retired a few years ago. Delphi is in Carroll County. He stated that the crime scene was odd. And that's verbatim what he said. It was odd. And he said that it looked like there could be at least 3 signatures present there. So a signature is what a serial killer leaves behind. It's almost like a modus operandi, or however you say that. It's basically a calling card for a serial killer. And the prosecutor went on record with somebody when he talked to them and stated that it looked like there were 3 signatures there, at least. Things that a killer would have left that they would like to be identified by. So there's a lot of symbolism, a lot of weirdness going on here, and still no answers. But we're going out to the bridge tonight. Yeah, it's spooky, man. It's weird. It's creepy to me because even though there's 2 men named and I know you have to take all of this with a grain of salt. Obviously, you have to question everything. But there's 2 men named as being these Odinists that may have been responsible for the murder, but I'm sure there are more people involved in this group, this cult. I'm sure that there's people living in Delphi right now that know more than they're talking about, you know? And it's eerie going out there. It's almost the anniversary of the murders. Yeah, tonight we're not going to be trying to speak with any victims. We're not doing any sort of a targeted investigation whatsoever. We are just heading out to the area to use some of our paranormal equipment to see if anybody, any sort of energy or spirit that's out there has some sort of an answer or something they can tell us about what they saw on that night. Because if this was a one-off murder, it's obviously so tragic and it's the worst thing possible. But if there's multiple people involved that might get away with their involvement in a killing like this, the killing of children, I think that that's a lead that should be pursued until you have completely concrete answers on it. And I mean, just look at this. This is just my tiny little mock-up of the whole thing. There's so much more. There's so much more that's coming out, but let's do this, man.
All right, investigation time.
This is the bridge that the girls were walking on.
Dude, I can just picture the crime scene now. It's so eerie to think about Libby and Abby walking right here and that guy coming. So he forced them to walk. I'm assuming they were on that end. He came from this way and said down the hill.
I apologize for the wind, but we're out here on the bridge. Now, this is the most arguably important part of this entire case because it's right here where the video and images and audio of the killer were captured as he walked to this very path over to this side of the bridge where Libby and Abby were standing. And obviously they were then forced down the hill, murdered and left over there, posed in that ritual position. We want to treat this investigation with the utmost respect. We're not here to act like we're talking to the spirits of victims, anything like that. And I want to make that very, very clear that we're treating this with care and respect And I genuinely wanted to come out here and ask these questions because I'm very, very curious. And they've tried everything. And I'm wondering if this can point in any sort of direction or point anybody in any sort of direction. It's eerie walking out here because there are cameras on the trail everywhere, but you're very isolated back here. We're in the pitch black. There's no light. There's two things I want to point out real quick. One, coming out here made me think, and it's eerie, if those guys really did have a part in this crime, the two men who are not under arrest, and they were doing rituals out here in these woods, it's kind of frightening to me that we could possibly run across somebody out here deep in this forest area. So that's just an honest, genuine little bit of anxiety it gives me because we're way out here. Second of all, these woods and this forest has an indescribable energy that I can't even begin to convey to you guys online. And I'm not just saying this. Walking up here, I kept telling Connor, it feels like you're walking into hell. The way the trees are bent over and your light only extends a certain amount until it's pitch black. I mean, anytime you're out in the woods at night, it's scary, obviously. Unless you're like a hardcore camper, and then people are gonna roast me and say, it's calming. To me, it's a little freaky, but out here it just has this, it has a feeling. It's just heavy, and it's a dreadful feeling out here. It's really unlike any other forest we've done. It's just a sad, but an extreme anxiety from me. Not feeling 100% out here. Connor?
I don't know. This place, like Collin said, it's got a really strange vibe to it. Anytime it's like a crime against children, I feel like it brings just a completely different energy. Two very young girls lost their lives out here in very brutal ways, and I mean, we really do want to go about this as respectfully as we can, try to see if we can maybe get answers to what might have happened that night and what continues to happen out in these woods. And so I don't know.
Say one more thing. Yeah, I just want to emphasize one more time. We are not trying to speak to anybody in specific with this investigation. We are simply reaching out here to anybody or anything that may be out here on this bridge. Even ancient spirits that have been here since, you know, hundreds, thousands of years. Anybody that may have seen something or heard something, or a protector spirit, a guardian angel. It's also just a little bit ominous that they possibly were doing rituals out here. So that's a whole nother level of bad energy that's brought in, if that's a true facet of the case. But we're gonna begin our investigation now. We've got some devices. Let's turn them on, man. Are you rolling?
Mm-hmm.
Spike there.
I got Richard.
Richard? Wait. Bro. Richard's the guy that was arrested. Richard Allen. I'm not kidding, Connor. Hold up. I'm going to verify that right now.
It is. Dude.
Okay, guys.
Richard, the first.
Oh my god, bro. I got like full body just now. Dude, what? Actually, though. Like, what is that, dude? Oh my god, bro. I'm actually like, what?
Sacred ground. This is where they're doing the rituals.
I know. Okay, so I know there's gonna be people watching our videos for the first time. We use these devices. These are phone apps. They work the same as ghost hunting devices, like the Ovilus that use these devices. I know. Okay. So I know there's gonna be people watching our videos for the first time. We use these devices. These are phone apps. They work the same as ghost hunting devices, like the Ovilus that you see all the time. They record basically energy fluctuations, put it through an algorithm, gives you a name or a word. You cannot manipulate that thing. There's no possible way for you to get into that app and add words or make words happen. And the very first word we just got out on this bridge is the name of the guy who was arrested and is about to go on trial for the murders here.
The guy who looks a lot like the person in the sketch that was on this bridge.
I mean, dude, is that not
right
like
here on this bridge?
That is just. I'm actually like. Holy shit.
That's why.
No spike behind you.
Dude, right there. Okay, thank you to whoever said... Did you hear that? Like a... They came from down there. I think we might have heard your voice, whoever this is. Richard, thank you for telling us that Richard was involved and that maybe they treated this as sacred ground.
Sickness took me.
Bro. That was a like footstep right there. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
That was like right at this tree right by us. I want to state to everybody online too, we are the complete opposite of trying to sensationalize anything here. If you see us get surprised or shocked, it's because genuinely...
How's that going off?
That was a hard.
That thing reacts
Okay.
to electric
So right
phenomena.
now, whoever
So
told us
something's
Richard...
producing energy and touching the thing.
It's dangerous.
Sacred ground, it's dangerous, Richard.
Dude, birds at night. We've said this many times on our videos, y'all. Birds at night, it's an old myth.
Leave here.
Dude, that's so sad. It's like somebody who was hurt here saying, it's dangerous, please leave. Richard is crazy, bro. That's crazy. The first word is the main suspect. Can you identify who you are to us? We have a little bell down here too. If you want, you can come tap on this bell and show us that you're here. Whoever's here, we just want to speak with you. We're not coming here to harm. We're only bringing good energy with us. We just want to figure out what happened to Abby and Libby out here. I don't know if you know what's happening right now, but a man named Richard, like you already said his name, he's been arrested for the crimes. We want to know if that's true, if there are more people that were involved in what happened. Dude, right when I said that.
Watching.
Holy watching. Sacred ground and holy. Why do you say that this is sacred, holy ground? If you see any of the red lights, by the way, you can go touch them and it'll show us that you're here, whoever this is. You can also go tap the bell that's right by my feet. That'll show us that you're here too.
Hear me.
That's what we're trying to do here, whoever we're speaking to. We came out here just to listen. Can you tell us what happened out here?
Was there a ritual done here?
Amy.
Amy.
Don't leave us.
Amy. We want to know. So, you said Richard.
The rumors are true.
Which ones? Which ones now?
And guys, I know people are going to say we look dumb using phone apps. I know the comments are coming, but we've used these on like 50 investigations. We wouldn't use them if we didn't believe there was something to it. Just like all the other devices. So this...
Concerned.
You hear a whistle? What are you concerned about? Are you concerned about telling us the truth?
I said the rumors are true.
Nobody can hurt you. So you can just tell us the truth. Were there multiple men involved in the murder?
Something in the wind picked up something fierce.
Can you please tap that bell? If there were multiple men involved in the deaths that happened out here, just tap that bell. If it's a yes.
They've upset me. Run away.
Dude, it just keeps telling us to leave.
That's concern for us.
It's almost like it's almost like you're picking up on the echoes of a crime too. Run! Can you tap that bell again? If there were more than one person involved? Can you give us the name of one of the people that was involved or describe them? Was a ritual performed here? Someone's here with us. Did you see what happened with your eyes? Can you tap that bell if you watched this happen?
Gilbert.
Gilbert. We gotta write these names down. I'm gonna write down Gilbert. Yeah, you can screenshot it.
A little bit easier.
I know that there's not as many names as we'd like on that device. Did one of the man's names start with a G? Was one of the men's names Brad? Who hurt the girls out here? Can you ring that bell again? And that went off at the exact... Oh, dude.
Okay. That's a lot of energy all at once. Hi. Gosh darn it. Collin, you need to focus your camera.
Dude, my camera went out of focus.
Brad.
So Brad was involved. Whoever this is. Dude, I'm like, I got energy waves coming.
Mm-hmm.
It's someone else.
What was that? Oh, Doc. Wait, so someone else? You mean it wasn't? It wasn't? So you're saying it's someone else? You already said Brad was there. Was a man named Patrick there? Or Pat?
Pause. Who's speaking?
To whoever's out here, I'm so sorry we didn't introduce ourselves.
Well, my name's Connor.
And my name's Collin, whoever's here. I'm married to this guy's sister. Her name's...
Hmm?
God.
Those ducks, dude.
I know.
It's a geese.
Once again, yeah, we're not here to hurt anybody. Can you tell us your name? Who you are?
Do you know who the man on the bridge was?
Visit.
What do you mean by that?
What are you doing?
What are we doing? We're just trying to ask you some questions. You can use your voice and speak with us. Like I said, we're not here to hurt anybody. We actually want to help however we can. So you remembered a guy named Brad. Do you remember a guy named Patrick?
Sounds like a yes.
Sound.
Dude, okay. I'm actually a little bit genuinely... This is so crazy. The first thing we get is Richard.
What the fuck are these?
These geese are going crazy down there. And then we ask if they remember Brad, and somebody's letting us know that Brad was here.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember a guy named Pat?
You stay a while.
Yeah, we're staying right now. We're just hanging out. So you remember a guy named... Oh! Yes, you remember a guy named Patrick as well? He was here?
Nora.
Thank you to whoever's talking with us. We're going to sit down and try to talk to you.
RV?
Spelled out RV. Is there something to do with an RV in this case? Did somebody involved in this live in an RV?
Who are you?
I'm Connor and this is Collin.
Yeah, we're just here to hang out. So, whoever's talking with us, we have this little device. Dude, somebody's like sitting down with us.
Right. Holy cow. And the thing right next to him is
sitting
going
here with
off.
us?
Deride.
Okay. I'm gonna press record on this thing and just try to use your voice and speak with us. Who's here with us right now? Can you say... Yes, who's here with us? Can you tell us your name? I'm gonna turn off this bell.
That's weird as fuck. It has like a question.
Going wild.
I know.
Like
Here?
question mark behind it. Here?
Can you tell us what your name is, please? So we know who we're talking to? We introduced ourselves.
Oh, I thought this was like 20 minutes shorter than this. Okay.
Ask me anything.
Do you remember what happened on February 13th?
I know these are tough questions to whoever had to watch this terrible stuff happen, but you're gonna help people by answering them. Were the people, or was the man who murdered those innocent girls doing some sort of magic or witchcraft?
Hunting. Fight.
Hunting and fight.
Was there a significance to the sticks that were laid on top of the body?
Is there evidence out here that was buried somewhere?
Can you tell me how many people were involved in that crime?
Isaac.
Did anybody ever
Communication.
What's that noise?
I'm hearing mostly wind.
Did anybody ever mention, if you were present while that horrible thing was happening, anything about Norwegian gods?
Screaming.
Vikings, Odin, Thor. So you said buried, candles, blacksmith. So is there more evidence that's buried still somewhere out here? There are benches in this park.
Can you tell us what your name is, please? So we know who we're talking to? We introduce ourselves. Ask me anything.
Something's gonna come through, but not very clear.
It said he murdered.
What happened on February 13th? I know these are tough questions. Whoever had to watch this terrible stuff happen, but you're going to help people by answering them. Were the people, or was the man who murdered those innocent girls doing some sort of magic or witchcraft? Murder. Hunting and fight. Innocent girls doing some sort of magic or witchcraft? Murder. Hunting and fight. Was there significance to the sticks that were laid on top of the body? Very. Is there evidence out here that was buried somewhere? Can you tell
Are you afraid?
how many people?
No, we're not afraid.
Is there evidence out here that was buried somewhere? Can you tell me how many people were involved in that crime?
I heard there were 3.
That was buried somewhere? Can you tell me how many people were involved in that crime?
Anybody.
7. Oh my god, bro. Anybody.
Crime. Did anybody
Dude, it literally says 7.
how many people were involved in that crime?
3 children. They left me.
3 children here, they left me?
Who's the third child? Dude, those trees moving behind you are so
Ever meditation? You tell me how
Ava.
many people laid on top of the body? Buried. Is there evidence out here that was buried somewhere? Can you tell me
19.
how many people
Didn't make anything
were
out of that.
involved in that crime? Did anybody ever meditation? Did anybody ever mention, if you were present while that horrible thing was happening, anything about Norwegian gods, Vikings, Odin, Thor?
Suffer.
And instead of closing my eyes, my head has a bad tendency
Anniversary.
to nod. I'm just kind of keeping my eyes lowered.
This is almost the anniversary.
Oh, yeah.
That's crazy.
Dang.
Okay. So, if you remember anything about that day, can you please tell us the name of one of the people that did this? Give us their name or tap on this device. It has letters. You can stop it on a letter that their name starts with.
3 lights.
Candles and 3 lights. Were they burning candles out here?
Do you remember Richard?
Eleanor. What's in your hand?
We have cameras in our hands. Were they mentioning, or was he mentioning, why they were doing this?
Benjamin, I lied to you.
Who's Benjamin? Was he involved?
Did these men ever mention Norwegian stuff? Like Thor? Or Odin? Or some sort of magic? Okay, I'm gonna ask just one more time and then we'll be done. Do you remember any of the people's names that murdered the girls out here?
There's evil everywhere.
Can you tell us one thing about what they looked like? Okay, listen.
Can you see me?
Alright, here we go.
If you remember anything about that day, can you please tell us the name of one of the people who did this? Give us their name or tap on this device. It is letters. You can stop it on a letter that their name starts with.
No, dang it. Nope, nothing on that one. Wendy keeps catching it.
Were they burning candles out here? Yes. Do you remember Richard? No, we don't. What's in your hand? We have cameras in our hands. Were they mentioning
Something, but can't make anything out.
why they were doing this? Were they mentioning, or was he mentioning, why they were doing this?
Jesus.
I like you. Benjamin, was he involved? Did men ever mention Norwegian stuff, like Thor, or Odin, or some sort of magic? I'm gonna ask just one more time and then we'll be done. Do you remember any of the people's names that murdered the girls out here? There's people everywhere.
That's quite the tell.
Any of the people's names that murdered the girls out here? There's people everywhere.
That's weird.
Can you tell us one thing about what they looked like? Something from the 1800s.
Well, it definitely seems like somebody has been speaking with us, and we've gotten some of the most incredibly relevant answers you could hope or imagine to get. But for this Estes, I want to stand up, and I'm going to put my back to that old bridge.
It's just sad that there's so much wind out there that the EVPs aren't.
And we're gonna use something called the Estes method to try speak to whoever or whatever's out here. Basically, it entails putting headphones on, noise-canceling headphones, and a blindfold, and listening to a spirit box, which is a device that just sweeps through radio frequencies really fast.
Your parents are afraid you're going to ruin your hearing.
I don't like that at all. But the theory is you're able to hear voices from different dimensions as you access the radio waves, which you can't hear with your own ears. So, let's do this. Dude, right when I got up to try to get this stuff. So I'm going to put the blindfold on now. I'm standing with my back to the bridge. And just, let's try to figure some of this out, man.
All right, to whoever we've been talking to, we want to get some answers.
Wendy.
Very.
Yes, it is windy up here. We want to know what happened on the night of February 13th. Do you remember that night?
Mm-hmm.
You do remember?
I'm hearing like a... It's so weird, dude. It's musical, like a horn, like... Like, yeah, I've never heard something like that on Estes. Like,
Do you remember the girls?
keep hearing like this weird musical, like, it's, dude, it's so weird. And then like a little,
What's this music about? What are you trying to show us with the music?
it's a celebration.
What are you celebrating?
Oh, I just heard a, success.
What was the success?
It's like a deep man voice that's like,
Who is this man?
dude, this is giving me the chills, bro. It's literally like a man that's sitting here going, I've never heard something like that.
We want to know. We were looking at some documents that came out today, and we're thinking that
The name is?
there might be some witchcraft involved.
There were 7.
So, there were 7 people that night. What was the significance of the sticks?
Evil or demon or Mjolnir or something like Renner. It was like a weird word, like, but it sounded like could be anything. Power.
Was it a sigil?
Oh, I just heard like a scream.
Can you tell me if Richard was involved?
They clapped. Dude, I just heard someone's coming, just like that. Again.
Who's coming?
And I'm hearing this weird, like I've never heard something like it, like a deep man voice.
Who's coming?
With the beard.
Who's
What about him?
the beard?
Buried.
What's buried?
Maybe he's someone else related, but nah.
Can you tell me what's buried?
I don't think he's buried.
The knife.
Ooh.
The knife is buried.
I wonder if it's buried
Is
in
it
that
around
location.
us? Is it close?
Pretty.
Pretty close.
It's pretty close. Can you tell me why the girls were killed?
Dude, this vocalization is so eerie. It sounds like a deep man voice going. Random.
Who is this man?
Here.
Who is it?
Come down here.
Under the bridge?
Not the friendly sounding type, is he?
He told me.
You want us to come under the
Them.
bridge? Ben? Who's Ben?
The Raven.
This isn't really making much sense. Can you tell
Can't remember.
Can you tell me who the man is? Or at least tell me what he looks like?
A bit shorter.
He's a short man?
God.
Anything else you know?
Funny tooth.
He's a short man with a funny tooth? What's his name, Richard?
They tried something.
Was it Richard?
There's another.
There was more than just one? There's Richard and someone else?
Victims.
There's more
Coming.
Victims are coming?
Oh, dude, I just heard a very eerie voice. Follow me. Dude, this voice. Oh. Try digging.
You want me to dig under the bridge? What am I gonna find down there?
3 dead. I know. Sure.
Who am I speaking to?
The axe.
What's the axe? What's that mean?
Woo-hoo. They hung.
They hung? They hung you?
There are some secrets. There are some secrets buried. Like that, dude.
So, there's secrets buried. Why were they...
Little money.
How can we find out these secrets?
There's too little.
What do we need to do?
Oh no.
We want
I just heard another scream. Like,
we want answers. What do we need to do?
just wait.
That's all we can do is just wait. The secrets will come out.
Ring.
Threatening.
More than one.
Alright, well... Is there anything you want to tell me?
The raven. And then another. Ah! I keep hearing these, like, screeches. It's horrible, actually.
Alright, well, we don't have...
Shut up.
We don't have much more time here tonight. We'd love to get one last thing from you. Is there anything you can tell me?
That's exactly how I'm hearing it. Run.
Alright, well... If you don't have anything else to tell us, I think we're gonna get going. We're gonna get going. We're gonna come back tomorrow in the morning to come say goodbye to you guys. Is there anything else you would like to tell us?
Not just one.
There's more than one person who committed the crime?
Come back, don't stop.
All right. Two of us. Talking. All right. Well, it was really good talking to you, whoever you are, or multiple
Thank you.
people.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
We're gonna come bring you flowers. We really appreciate you talking to us.
The candles. Again, the candle. Something with the candle, bro. I don't know what that is, but it was a man that said that.
We really appreciate you talking to us. We want you to have a
warrior,
peaceful rest of your existence. All right.
God. Oh my God, bro. You scared me.
Scared him getting out of it. Gotcha. I was mostly looking down with her eyes closed, listening.
Any of that make sense?
Some of it.
Bits and parts, yeah.
Just kept saying their secrets, they're buried.
Yeah.
Someone wanted us to come under the bridge. But not really much more.
Yeah, that's about
I'm
it.
interested to go edit this and see what all was said and research it and see what I can make sense out of that. Leave.
About to, yes.
All right, we're sorry we have disturbed you if that's what you want. We're gonna pack up and leave. We're gonna come back tomorrow and bring you something, whoever's been here speaking with us this evening. Thank you for taking the time to come talk. Hopefully we got some good information so we can try help figure out what happened here. But we'll be back tomorrow. And thanks.
Goodbye. See you later.
Moody footage. Oh, red light.
Something else eerie to point out while we're out here is the fact that there are cameras all along this trail now.
Like right there. What?
Oh.
It's really sad. But you see those cameras up there? You know,
I can guarantee you with 100% confidence that before this crime happened, those cameras weren't there.
Never.
And now
yeah.
they're everywhere along this trail. Not only to deter future crimes like that from happening, but I would imagine to also try to catch any suspicious behavior that might happen. Because, you know, killers are known to go back to the scenes of the crimes.
Oh, it's a geese.
My boy's getting spooked by geese.
It's eerie to think too that those sticks that were laid across their bodies probably came from trees just like these that, you know, were somewhere here in this wooded area. So something that I'm noticing already just walking out on this trail early on, first of all, is the presence of those signs talking about trail safety. Now you can tell that those signs are really recently erected. They're not dirty, they're not scratched up. Obviously, I think they were placed here after the murders, but when you're walking back here, you get pretty isolated pretty quickly. And these paths are brand new, which is another kind of just bit of eeriness, considering that before the murders, these were just kind of dirt paths that led back to the bridge, and nowadays they're really well maintained and there's tons of security cameras. So yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful trail, but when you know the history of the area and what happened here literally less than a decade ago,
it's like the locals don't trust the place not to become a crime haven.
It's not officially solved yet. It adds just an eerie element to this beautiful walk.
A lot of times when a crime is committed in a place, especially if it's a place that's kind of secured by the government, a lot of times they'll try to make the place look nicer, do some stuff like this to make people want to go back out there again, to make it feel like, oh, we got everything under control. The sad thing is that they don't have it under control. I mean, there was a lot of mishandled evidence. A lot of times, the killer's from this area.
And that's kind of the whole point, is they arrested one man, but his defense team is arguing that it was multiple men. The police have actually questioned those multiple men, and there's just a lot of theories and strange things about this case that makes you really think that there may have been more than one person involved. And those people are not in jail or prison. And like I've said many times, we're not alleging that anybody had any activity or involvement involving these murders. We're not accusing anybody of anything. We're just pointing out evidence, facts, things other people have pointed out. So right here
pointing out
at the entrance to the area where you head to the bridge, there are some memorials for Libby and Abby. We didn't see these last night. We can see them now in the daytime. Very sad. It's just haunting to see stuff like this and be confronted with the reality of what happened out here.
It was unbelievable. It is Delphi after all. It's family. That way I've always put it. It's everyone knows each other, so I could not believe what was happening. It was very shocking.
We're all sort of hurting a little bit. If we could share that, maybe it might be easier.
So actually, the bridge is just a little bit further down, and then the bodies were actually found almost straight across this way on a piece of private property.
Over there. But it all started on the bridge, and we still don't know. That's the whole thing. We don't know if this person committed these murders on the bridge area.
Under the bridge.
Under the bridge. If they took the girls somewhere else and killed them. If they killed them in the area where they were found. There's so many mysteries and so much evidence that hasn't been released yet that it's still unknown, you know, exactly how, why, and where all this went down. It's weird because you couldn't really tell last night exactly how high up we were because it's so dark. But this bridge is like really high up in the air. It's kind of crazy. It's kind of interesting when you look down here. There seems to be some sort of a campsite or some materials down there. Their bodies were found down that way. Definitely eerie being out here, even in the daylight, because this is the time of day when it happened. If only bridges or wood could talk, honestly. Because who knows exactly what happened. We do know, though, he was right about there.
Mm-hmm.
It's creepy. And it's hard to imagine both the man and Libby and Abby walking on this bridge without railings. It's just crazy how high up they were. You don't really realize from that video how high up and kind of scary. Like, you couldn't pay me to walk across this without a railing. It's crazy how, like, this fall would kill you.
So much mystery here. If more happens in the case, more developments come out, we'll make more videos, but we've wanted to film and investigate this area for a long time. So whoever was out here speaking with us last evening, thank you for talking to us, and I hope you find peace and can recover from that tragedy.
Yeah, whoever it was speaking to us, we want to say thank you. We know we didn't get all the answers, but I feel like with time we're able to piece together some stuff, so thank you for talking to us. We hope you find peace.
All right, guys, so really quickly, I was just looking up some more details about the case while we were leaving. I just realized 2:07 p.m. is the time when Libby posted that photo of the two girls out on the bridge over there. And when I checked my phone, it was exactly 2:07 p.m. right now. So this is the exact kind of lighting the environment would have had. This is exactly the vibe it would have had. Same time of year, only a day or two from literally today is the anniversary. So it's just eerie because it's so bright out and it's so calm. I mean, you'd never suspect that a murderer would be walking out here on this trail and in these woods. I mean, it's the exact down to the minute time of day when that picture was posted, and the same type of weather in that photo.
Just so strange. Doesn't seem ominous or anything. Scary how that can happen when it just seems so peaceful and normal.
Libby and her other daughter Kelsey are always in sight. Their pictures adorn her walls. Carrie also spent 20 hours to get this artwork on her left arm. It includes Libby's favorite phrase, "in a minute," and this "I love you" message she wrote in a Mother's Day card.
And we put it on a Post-it because she puts everything on Post-its.
As well as the GPS coordinates to her burial site, which we won't show. That's a special place, which can get loud when Carrie pumps up the volume to the Guns N' Roses song "Sweet Child O' Mine" at the cemetery.
My doors, I open my doors, I turn it up really loud. I do.
So you're that person.
I am.
You're that person.
I am that person. She could turn anybody's frown upside down. Anytime, anyway. She was always joking. She could make anybody's bad day better within minutes. So the world got shortchanged. I did. I know our family did. The girls' sisters did. Cousins, aunts, uncles, everybody did.
All right, everybody, so I apologize because it's really windy out today, but we've come here to a cemetery here in Delphi, Indiana, to lay down some flowers for Abby and Libby before we leave town. It's such a tragic story, it's such a sad story, and hopefully soon after this documentary is released, there'll be some answers, but this wind is can't hear us. Libby, we're so sorry what happened to you. We're trying to help, trying to find some sort of an answer in this madness. But I hope you're in a better place now. And we're leaving these flowers for a sign of our respect and love.
Now, Libby, we want to say we're really sorry about what happened to you. That nobody deserves to go through that, and we hope you find some peace.
This inscription on the back of her grave says, "The Lord took you on a February day to a wonderful place so far away. Not a day goes by we don't cry for you, although we know you would not want us to. Our hearts will heal, our thoughts will clear, but in our hearts we'll keep you near. For God has welcomed you with open arms, with his love and without any more harm. We'll keep your memories in our minds, but happiness without you is awful hard to find. You will always be a blessing. No one can replace our love for you. But living without you is the hardest thing we do. We'll wipe our tears for you're in a better place and keep our memories of you that no one can erase. That's really beautiful, but like really sad. Damn.
So to finish out today's video, we already laid flowers down for Libby. We had to drive about 15-20 minutes to find the grave of Abby Williams, but it's right over here, so we're gonna go pay our respects, leave Abby some flowers, and yeah, then leave town. It's really sad. Abby, Abigail, we're leaving these flowers for you. I know you don't know us. But I hope you find peace and you found peace. These are for you.
Hey, Abby. Sad that this just happened to you. Nobody should go through this. And we want you to know that we're actively trying to figure out what happened to you. We hope you find peace in that.
Heavy stuff, isn't it?
Yeah.
I guess that's going to be the episode for today. So, as far as we're aware, we're still waiting, hopefully, some more answers. But something apparently did reach out and at least speak to them temporarily, although not a lot of information was found. But it does seem to hint heavily that the man they have caught may be at least one of the people involved. If there are more, which that does seem to hint at, they have yet to be fully discovered and fully brushed down for the things they have done. But that is to be another story, another time. And hopefully they continue to unravel this mystery and find out the truth behind everything. But for now, that's going to be our episode for tonight. I hope you all enjoyed a little bit of paranormal hunting there at the end. And with that said, I shall see you all next time. Hopefully tomorrow we'll be able to get a stream in before other things get involved. But that's it for now. Thanks again. See you all next time, and pleasant dreams.